The cafeteria on Station Kepler 7 was filled with the usual lunch crowd. Hundreds of cadets from different worlds sat at long tables, eating and talking. The air smelled like a mix of different foods from across the galaxy. Some smelled good to humans. Others did not. Minho Park carried his tray carefully through the crowd. He had managed to get his favorite meal today, something that actually tasted like real Earth food. Rice, grilled protein, and vegetables. Simple, but it reminded him of home. He spotted his friends at their usual table near the large window that showed the stars outside. "Saved you a seat," Jiwan Li said, moving her bag from the chair. She was already halfway through her meal. Jiwan always ate fast, a habit from her military family training. Nari Choi arrived a moment later with her tray. She sat down carefully, making sure not to spill her soup. "Did you guys finish the engineering assignment?" she asked. "I stayed up until 3 in the morning working on those calculations." "Barely," Minho said. He picked up his fork and was about to take his first bite when the cafeteria suddenly got quieter. Not silent, but the noise level dropped. It was the kind of quiet that meant trouble was coming. The 3 Vrax cubs entered through the main doors. They were young by their species standards, maybe equivalent to human teenagers. But they were already 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in dark armored plates that looked like they could stop bullets. Sharp claws clicked on the floor as they walked. Their faces had too many teeth, all of them pointed and sharp. Their eyes glowed a dim yellow color. Minho felt his stomach tighten. He knew what was coming. The Vrax cubs did this almost every day. They would walk through the cafeteria, looking at the different cadets. They were searching for someone to bother, someone they thought was weak. Then they would take that person's food, right off their tray. It was their way of showing dominance. Station security never stopped them. The Vrax Empire was powerful, and no one wanted to cause a diplomatic problem. The cubs knew this. They acted like they owned the place. "Maybe they will pick someone else today," Nari whispered hopefully. Her hand gripped her spoon tightly. "Maybe," Jiwan said, but she did not sound like she believed it. The cubs walked slowly between the tables. A small crystalline cadet from Thelia quickly moved his tray away as they passed. They laughed at him, a sound like rocks grinding together. An insectoid creche cadet actually got up and left her food behind, scurrying away on her 6 legs. Then the cubs saw the humans. The largest cub pointed at their table. He said something in the Vrax language that the translators did not pick up. The other 2 cubs made clicking sounds that might have been laughter. All 3 of them changed direction and walked straight toward Minho, Jiwan, and Nari. Minho's heart started beating faster, but he tried not to show fear. He had learned that showing fear made things worse with the Vrax. They were predators. They responded to fear like sharks responded to blood in water. The lead cub reached their table. Up close, he was even bigger. His breath smelled like metal and meat. He looked down at them with those glowing yellow eyes. Then, without asking, without any warning, he reached down with one clawed hand and grabbed Minho's tray. "Hey!" Minho started to stand up, but Jiwan grabbed his arm and pulled him back down. She shook her head slightly. "Do not fight," her eyes said. "You will lose." The cub lifted the tray up high, showing it to his friends like it was a trophy. The other 2 cubs laughed, their grinding laugh. Then the lead cub moved to Jiwan's tray and took that one too. "This is not right," Nari said, her voice shaking with anger. "We paid for that food. You cannot just take it." The second cub turned to look at her. He leaned down until his face was close to hers. His teeth were inches from her face. He made a low, growling sound deep in his throat. It was a clear threat. Nari went pale but did not look away. Minho felt proud of her for that. Even scared, she did not back down completely. The cubs carried the stolen trays to their own table on the other side of the cafeteria. They sat down and started eating the human food, making exaggerated sounds of enjoyment. They were not even hungry, Minho realized. They just did this to prove they could, to show everyone in the cafeteria that they were the strongest. Around them, other cadets pretended not to watch. But everyone was watching. This had become normal. The Vrax cubs took what they wanted, and no one stopped them. "I am so tired of this," Jiwon said quietly. Her hands were in fists on the table. 2 months of this. Every single day. "Can experience," Jiwon said, and 2 months of this. "What can we do?" Nari asked. "They are trained fighters. Even though they are young, they are still Vrax. One of them could probably fight 10 of us." Minho stared at his empty spot on the table where his tray had been. His stomach growled. Now he would have to wait until dinner. And he had combat training this afternoon. "There has to be something," he said. "Some way to make this stop." End quote. But no one had an answer. The 3 friends sat at their table with no food, watching the Vrax cubs enjoy their stolen meal. Outside the window, the stars looked cold and distant. The galaxy was a big place, full of different species and different rules. Here, on this station, the rules seemed simple. The strongest take what they want, and humans, it seemed, were not the strongest. That evening, Minho sat in the quarters he shared with 2 other human cadets. The room was small, but comfortable, with 3 beds and 3 desks. Each cadet had decorated their space with things from home. Minho had a photo of his family and a small South Korean flag on his wall. He stared at his homework on the data pad, but could not focus. His stomach was still empty. He had missed lunch completely, and dinner was not for another hour. The door opened and Jiwon walked in. She looked tired. "Nari is in the medical bay," she said. "She got dizzy during her afternoon class. The doctor said she did not eat enough today." Minho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Because those cubs took her food." "Yes." Jiwon sat down on her bed. "This cannot keep going, Minho. It has been 2 months. 2 months of them. Stealing from us. From everyone. Something has to change." Minho thought back to when the cubs first arrived. It was supposed to be an honor. The Vrax Empire was sending 3 of their young to the academy as part of a cultural exchange program. Everyone was excited. The Vrax were legendary warriors. Having them at the academy was meant to improve relations between species. No one expected this. At first, the cubs only took food from species they considered prey animals. The crystalline Thelians, who did not eat meat. The insectoid Kresh, who were small and fast but not strong. The aquatic Orvans, who needed special breathing equipment outside water. Then they started targeting everyone, including humans. "Did you hear what happened last week?" Jiwon asked. "That cadet from Proxima Station? The tall guy? Daehyun? He tried to fight back when they took his food." Minho had heard. "They broke his arm in 3 places. In 3 places?" Jiwon repeated. "And station security did nothing. The Cubs guardian just said it was a training accident." "An accident." She laughed. But there was no humor in it. The guardian was an adult Vrax warrior, named in his language something humans could not pronounce. He was even bigger than the cubs, standing almost 10 feet tall. He watched over them, but never stopped their behavior. When complaints came, he simply said this was normal for young Vrax. It was how they learned their place in the hierarchy. But this was not the Vrax homeworld. This was a galactic academy. Different rules should apply. "I talked to Commander Valix today," Jiwon said. Valix was the station commander, a Thelian with crystal-like skin that changed colors based on his mood. He said he is working through diplomatic channels. "That, we must be patient." "Patient?" Minho said. "How patient? Until someone gets seriously hurt? Until someone dies?" They sat in silence for a moment. Outside their window, they could see the docking bay. A small transport ship was approaching, coming in for landing. "There are rumors," Jiwon said suddenly. "I heard some of the senior cadets talking. They said Earth is sending someone, a new instructor. Minho looked up. What kind of instructor? I do not know exactly. But they said she is military. Real military. Not just academy training. They said she fought in the Frontier Wars. The Frontier Wars. Minho had learned about them in his history classes. 20 years ago, humanity had faced attacks from a hostile species on the outer colonies. The war lasted 3 years. It was brutal. Loci. NBN. When it ended, humanity had won, but the cost was high. Do you think one instructor can change anything? Minho asked. Jiwan shrugged. I do not know. But it is something. Maybe she will at least talk to Commander Valix. Make him understand. This is serious. The door opened again, and Nari walked in. She still looked pale, but she was smiling. I got extra rations from the medical bay, she said, holding up a nutrition bar. The doctor felt sorry for me. Are you okay? Minho asked. I will be fine. Just low blood sugar from missing lunch. She broke the nutrition bar in half and gave pieces to Minho and Jiwan. We share. That is what humans do, right? Minho took the piece and felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with food. That is what we do, he agreed. They ate the small pieces of nutrition bar in silence. It was not much, but it was something. Later that night, after his roommates were asleep, Minho lay in bed thinking. He thought about the cubs. He thought about their behavior. He wondered why they acted this way. In his xenobiology class, they had learned that the Vraks were apex predators on their homeworld. They evolved as pack hunters with incredible strength and speed. Their whole society was built on hierarchy. The strong led, the weak followed. It was simple for them, but humans were different. Humans built societies based on cooperation, on laws, on rules that everyone followed regardless of strength. That was how humans survived, not by being the strongest, but by working together. Maybe that was the problem. The cubs saw humans as weak because humans did not fight back with claws and teeth. They did not understand that strength came in different forms. But how could they make the cubs understand? Minho did not have an answer. He fell asleep, still thinking about it. The next morning, he woke to an announcement over the station's communication system. All cadets report to the main assembly hall at 0900 hours. Attendance is mandatory. Jiwan groaned from her bed. What is this about? Maybe they are finally doing something about the cubs, Nari said hopefully. They got dressed quickly and headed to the assembly hall. It was a large room with rows of seats facing a stage. Cadets from all over the station were filing in, talking nervously among themselves. Commander Valix stood on the stage, his crystalline skin showing a purple color that meant he was uncertain about something. Next to him stood a human woman. She was not particularly tall, maybe 5.5 feet. She wore a standard Earth military uniform with patches that Minho did not recognize. Her hair was pulled back simply. She had a calm face, not smiling but not frowning. She just stood there, with her hands behind her back, watching the cadets enter. Who is that? Nari whispered. That must be the new instructor, Jiwan whispered back. Minho studied the woman carefully. She did not look threatening. She did not look like a warrior. She looked normal, ordinary even. But something about the way she stood, the way her eyes moved across the crowd, made Minho think there was more to her than what showed on the surface. Commander Valix raised his hand for silence. Welcome, cadets. This is Commander Hana Kim, recently transferred from Earth's Special Operations Division. She will be teaching several classes and will be available for consultation. Please make her feel welcome. The cadets clapped politely. The woman, Hana Kim, nodded once, but did not smile. Minho wondered what special operations meant. He wondered what she had done in the Frontier Wars. He wondered if she could help them with their problem. But looking at her calm, ordinary face, he felt doubtful. She was just one person. One normal-looking human woman. What could she possibly do against 3 Vrax cubs who took what they wanted through strength and fear? He would find out soon enough. The next day, lunchtime came around like it always did. Minho walked into the cafeteria with his tray, feeling the same worry he felt every day now. Would the cubs come? Would they take his food again? He found Jiwan already sitting at their usual table. She had her meal in front of her, but had not started eating yet. She was waiting, watching the door. Any sign of them? Minho asked as he sat down. Not yet, Jiwan said. But they always come. Nari joined them a few minutes later. She put her tray down carefully and immediately started eating. If they come, she said between bites, I want to at least get a few bites in first. Minho understood. He picked up his fork and started eating too. The food tasted like nothing today. He was too nervous to really enjoy it. The cafeteria was full of the usual sounds. Different species talking in different languages, trays clattering, the food service machines humming. Outside the large windows, the stars looked cold and distant like always. Then the doors opened. The 3 Vrax cubs walked in. The cafeteria did not go completely silent this time. People had gotten used to this. But the noise level dropped. Everyone knew what was about to happen. The cubs looked around the room with their glowing yellow eyes. The lead cub, the biggest one, pointed toward the human table. His companions made their grinding laugh sound. They started walking in that direction. Here they come, Jiwan whispered. Minho kept eating, trying to get as much food as he could before they reached the table. Nari did the same. Jiwan just stared at her tray, her jaw tight with anger. The cubs reached their table. The lead cub looked down at them, with what might have been amusement in his alien face. He reached out with one clawed hand toward Minho's tray. Then something happened. A sound cut through the cafeteria noise. It was not loud. It was not a shout or a scream. It was just a simple sound. A clearing of a throat. Ahem. That was all. Just that one small sound. But the effect was immediate and shocking. The 3 Vrax cubs froze. Completely froze. The lead cub's claw was still extended toward Minho's tray, but it stopped moving. The other 2 cubs went stiff, like statues. Their armored plates suddenly bristled upward, standing on end like the hair on a frightened cat. Minho looked up at them in confusion. What was happening? The cubs' heads turned slowly, very slowly, toward the source of the sound. Their yellow eyes were wide. Their mouths were open, showing all those sharp teeth, but not in threat, in something else. Something that looked like fear. Minho followed their gaze. Standing in the cafeteria entrance was Instructor Hana Kim. She had just arrived with an empty tray, probably coming to get lunch. She stood there in her simple Earth military uniform, not moving, not doing anything threatening. Her arms were crossed loosely over her chest. Her face showed no expression at all. She was just standing there. But the cubs were terrified. The lead cub slowly, carefully, pulled his claw back from Minho's tray. He took one step backward, then another. His companions did the same. They moved like they were walking near a bomb that might explode. The biggest cub made a sound that Minho had never heard from a Vrax before. It was a high-pitched, chittering noise, almost like a bird. Later, Minho would learn this was a Vrax submission sound, a sound that meant, I am not a threat, please do not hurt me. The 3 cubs backed all the way across the cafeteria. They did not stop until they reached the far wall. Then they stood there, pressed against the wall, still watching Instructor Hana. The entire cafeteria was silent now, completely silent. Every cadet, every species, was staring. Some looked at the cubs. Some looked at the human instructor. Most looked back and forth between them, trying to understand what just happened. Hana Kim did not seem to notice the attention. Or maybe she noticed but did not care. She walked calmly to the food service area. She got her meal, some kind of soup and bread. She carried her tray to the instructor's table on the far side of the room. She sat down. She picked up her spoon and started eating. That was all. She just ate her lunch like it was a normal day. The cubs stayed pressed against the wall for a full minute. Then, moving together like a frightened school of fish, they hurried out of the cafeteria. They moved fast, but not with their usual swagger. They looked like they wanted to run but were forcing themselves to walk. When they were gone, the cafeteria slowly came back to life. Cadets started talking again. But now, everyone was talking about what they just saw. The crystalline Thelians were flashing colors at each other rapidly. Their version of excited speech. The insectoid Kresh were clicking their mandibles in what sounded like amazed laughter. At the human table, Minho, Jiwan, and Nari sat in stunned silence. Minho looked down at his tray. It was still there. His food was still there. The cubs had not taken it. What just happened? Nari finally asked. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. I do not know, Jiwan said. She was staring at Instructor Hana, who was still calmly eating her soup. She did not do anything. She just stood there. She just cleared her throat. But they were scared, Minho said. Really scared. Did you see how they moved? I have never seen a Vrax look scared before. They looked terrified. Nari agreed. But why? She is just one human. She is smaller than any of them. She did not threaten them. She did not even say anything. Minho realized his hands were shaking. The adrenaline from expecting a confrontation was still in his system. But the confrontation never came. The cubs just left. Just like that. After 2 months of taking whatever they wanted, they just left because one human woman cleared her throat. I need to know why, Minho said suddenly. He stood up. What are you doing? Jiwan asked. I am going to ask her. Minho picked up his tray. His food was getting cold, but he did not care anymore. He walked across the cafeteria toward the instructor's table. His heart was beating fast. He was not scared of Instructor Hana. She had just saved his lunch after all. But he was nervous. She was a military officer, a combat instructor, and he was just a cadet. He stopped a respectful distance from her table. Excuse me, Instructor Kim? She looked up from her soup. Her eyes were dark brown and very calm. Yes, Cadet Park? She knew his name. That was surprising. They had never spoken before. I wanted to ask. Minho did not know how to phrase it. What happened just now? With the Vrax cubs? Why did they react that way to you? Hana Kim was quiet for a moment. She put down her spoon and looked at him carefully, like she was deciding something. Then she said, Do you have office hours free this afternoon? Yes, instructor. Come to my office at 1,400 hours. Room C47. Bring your friends if they want to come. I think it is time someone explained a few things to you about what it means to be human in this galaxy. Her voice was not unkind, but it was serious. Very serious. Yes, instructor. Thank you. Minho went back to his table. Well? Jiwan asked immediately. She wants us to come to her office this afternoon. She said she will explain. The three friends looked at each other. Then, without needing to discuss it, they all started eating their lunches. For the first time in 2 months, they ate their full meal, without fear, without waiting for cubs to come and take it away. It felt good. It felt normal. But Minho could not stop thinking about the cubs' faces, the fear in their eyes, and he could not stop wondering what Instructor Hana knew that they did not. Room C47 was small and simple. A desk, a few chairs, some shelves with books and datapads. The walls were bare except for one photo. It showed a group of human soldiers in dusty combat gear, standing in front of a military vehicle. They looked tired, but were smiling. Minho guessed it was from the Frontier Wars. Instructor Hana sat behind her desk. Minho, Jiwan, and Nari sat in the chairs facing her. The room felt very quiet, after the noise of the hallways outside. Thank you for coming, Hana said. I know you have questions. Before I answer them, I want to ask you something. What do you know about human biology? About how our species evolved? Minho thought about his xenobiology classes. We evolved as omnivores, he said. We ate both plants and meat. We are not as strong as species like the Vracs, but we are adaptable. That is correct, but incomplete, Hana said. It showed a primitive human, running across a plain. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? The three cadets shook their heads. Most predators hunt in one of two ways, Hana explained. Either they are ambush hunters, like cats, who hide and then attack with sudden speed and strength, or they are pack hunters, like wolves, who chase prey in short bursts. Both types rely on being faster or stronger than their prey for a short time. She changed the hologram. Now it showed the primitive human still running for a very long time. Humans evolved differently. We are not the fastest runners. We are not the strongest fighters, but we can run for hours, days even. We would find an animal we wanted to hunt, and we would just follow it. The animal would run away, so we would track it. It would rest, so we would catch up. It would run again, so we would follow again. We would do this for hours and hours, until the animal was so exhausted it could not run anymore. Then we would kill it. Minho felt a strange chill. He had never thought about human evolution that way before. This is called persistence hunting, Hana continued. It requires specific biological features: the ability to sweat, to cool down, the ability to run long distances without our legs giving out, the mental ability to track prey for days without giving up. Most importantly, the psychological trait of refusing to stop. She switched the hologram again. Now it showed different alien species. Minho recognized the Vracs, the Thelians, the Kresh, and others. In the galaxy, there are thousands of intelligent species. Most evolved from prey animals or from ambush predators, species that became intelligent by avoiding danger or by being strong for short periods. But humans? We evolved by literally chasing things until they died from exhaustion. Do you understand how terrifying that is to other species? Jiwan leaned forward. But the Vracs are strong. They are warriors. Why would they be scared of us? Hana smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. Let me show you something. She pulled up a file on her screen and turned it so they could see. This is classified material from the Frontier Wars. I am showing you because I think you need to understand your own species' reputation. The file showed a battle report. Minho scanned it quickly. Human forces had been fighting an enemy species called the Krell. The humans were outnumbered 5-1. The Krell were stronger, better armed. The Krell expected to win easily, Hana said. They were ambush predators, powerful and fast. They attacked our colony, thinking humans would run away or surrender. The battle lasted 3 weeks. The human forces did not have enough ammunition after the first week. They did not have enough food after the second week. Medical supplies ran out. But they did not surrender. They used rocks. They made traps. They attacked at night when the Krell needed to sleep. They just kept fighting. She pulled up another file. The Krell finally retreated. Not because they lost, but because they were psychologically broken. Their military reports said fighting humans was like fighting ghosts. You could hurt a human, and they would keep coming. You could wound them, and they would keep fighting. You could take everything from them, and they would use their bare hands. The Krell commander wrote that humans do not know how to stop. The room was very quiet. Minho felt strange, proud, but also a little scared of his own species. After the Frontier Wars, the galactic community reassessed humanity, Hana said. We were officially reclassified as apex persistence predators. Do you know how rare that classification is? In the entire galaxy, there are only 4 species with that designation. And humans are the only one that also developed high technology. She closed the files and looked at the 3 cadets directly. The Vraks teach their young about danger from the moment they hatch. They teach them which species to respect, which to avoid, which to fear. Humans are on the fear list. Not because we are stronger. We are not. But because we do not stop. Ever. But you did not do anything in the cafeteria, Nari said. You just cleared your throat. Exactly, Hana said. I acknowledged that I was present. That I was aware of them. To a Vrax cub, that is a warning. It means a human has noticed their behavior. And once a human notices, once we decide something is a problem, we will work on that problem until it is solved. No matter how long it takes. She stood up and walked to the window. The throat clearing was not a threat. It was an acknowledgement. I see you. I am here. Think about what you are doing. To those cubs, raised on stories of humans who chase their enemies across entire planets, who refuse to surrender even when defeated, who simply will not stop. That acknowledgement was enough. Minho thought about the cubs' faces. The fear in their eyes. They were not scared of being hurt in a fight. They were scared of something much worse. They were scared of being hunted, of being followed, of having a human decide they were a problem that needed to be solved. So our reputation did the work, Jiwan said slowly. You did not need to threaten them because they already knew what humans are capable of. Correct, Hannah said. She turned back to face them. But this is important for you to understand. You 3, and every human on this station, carry that reputation. When other species look at you, they see persistence predators. They see a species that survived by refusing to give up. Some species respect that. Some fear it. The Vraks do both. OC'd. OC. OC. But we are just cadets, Minho said. We are not soldiers. We are not dangerous. Hana's expression became very serious. You are human. That is dangerous enough for most species. And that is why you need to be responsible with this knowledge. Do not abuse it. Do not use your reputation to bully others. The reason I could stop those cubs with just a look is because they have been taught to fear humans who hunt. If you start acting like bullies yourselves, you prove their fears right. She sat back down at her desk. You asked why the cubs reacted that way. Now you know. Human beings are patient, persistent, and we do not stop until we solve a problem. That is our strength, but it is also our responsibility. Use it wisely. Minho felt like his whole understanding of himself had shifted. He had always thought of humans as smart, but weak, compared to warrior species like the Vraks. Now he understood that strength came in different forms. Physical power was useful in a short fight. But the ability to simply never give up, that was power too. Maybe more power than claws and teeth. What do we do now? Nari asked. Will the cubs leave us alone? Probably, Hana said. They have been reminded of what humans are. But remember, they are young. They came here to learn. Maybe you can teach them that humans are more than just persistent hunters, that we are also good at cooperation, at friendship, at making peace. You want us to try to be friends with them? I want you to show them there are better ways than bullying, Hana said. Show them what humanity really is. Not just the scary reputation, but the truth. That we are strong because we work together. That we are successful because we help each other. She looked at each of them in turn. You have the afternoon to think about it. Dismissed. The 3 cadets stood up and left the office. In the hallway, they stopped and looked at each other. I do not know if I can be friends with them, Nari said quietly. They scared me. They took our food. I know, Minho said. But maybe Instructor Hana is right. Maybe we can teach them something better. Or maybe, Jiwan said with a slight smile, we can just enjoy the fact that they are now scared of us. They laughed. But it was nervous laughter. Everything had changed. They understood now what it meant to be human in this galaxy. They carried a reputation they had not known about, a reputation that was both a shield and a responsibility. Tomorrow they would decide what to do with that knowledge. But today, they walked through the station hallways with their heads a little higher. They were human, and that meant something. The next morning, Minho woke up feeling different. He could not quite explain it. Nothing physical had changed. He was still the same person. But something inside felt different. He understood himself better now. He understood what it meant to be human. In the cafeteria at breakfast, he noticed other changes too. The Vrax cubs came in for their meal, but they moved differently. They walked quietly to get their food. They did not look around for targets. They sat at their own table and ate, speaking quietly among themselves. At the human table, Minho ate with Jiwon and Nari. They talked about their classes for the day. Normal conversation. No fear. No worry about food being stolen. It felt strange how quickly normal could return. "We have combat simulation this afternoon," Jiwon said. "Instructor Kim is teaching it." Minho remembered. He had signed up for that class at the beginning of the term. He wondered what it would be like now that he knew more about their instructor. The morning classes went by normally. Math, galactic politics, xenobiology. Minho tried to focus, but his mind kept wandering. He kept thinking about what Hana had said. About persistence. About never stopping. About what humans really were. After lunch, he headed to the combat simulation room. It was a large sphere, perfectly round, used for zero-gravity training. The walls could change to show different environments. Today they showed empty space with some floating obstacles, pieces of pretend ship debris. Other cadets were already there, floating in their magnetic boots. Minho recognized most of them. There were 5 other humans, 3 Thelians, 2 Kresh, and the 3 Vrax cubs. Instructor Hana floated near the center of the sphere. "Welcome to combat simulation," she said. Her voice came through everyone's suit communication system. "Today we are doing a team exercise. Capture the flag in zero gravity. I will divide you into 3 teams." She split them up, mixing species carefully. Minho found himself on a team with Jiwon, Nari, and one of the Vrax cubs. The cub was the middle-sized one, not the leader. Through the translation system, his name came through as something unpronounceable. So Hana had told everyone to call him Striker. Striker floated near them but did not make eye contact. He looked uncomfortable. His armored plates were flat against his body, a Vrax sign of uncertainty or submission. "Teams to your starting positions," Hana ordered. "You have 2 minutes to plan before the simulation begins." Minho's team floated together in one corner of the sphere. Jiwon started talking immediately. "Okay. We need a strategy. The flags are in the center. We need someone fast to grab ours, while the rest defend." "I can go fast," Nari said. "I have been practicing zero-gi movement." Striker made a low rumbling sound. Then, in slow, careful words through the translator, he said, "I can defend. My species is strong. Good for blocking." Everyone looked at him. It was the first time any of the cubs had really spoken to the human cadets outside of threats. That would be good," Minho said carefully. "Nari goes for the flag. Striker defends. The rest of us support and protect." Striker nodded, a gesture he must have learned from humans because Vrax normally did not nod. The simulation began. Immediately, it was chaos. The 3 teams pushed off from their corners, flying through the zero-gravity space toward the center, where 3 flags floated. Cadets bumped into each other, into obstacles, spinning and trying to control their movement. Nari shot forward like she had been training for this her whole life. She grabbed their team's flag and spun around, kicking off an obstacle to head back. But 2 cadets from another team were chasing her. One was a Thelian, the other a different Vrax cub. They were faster than Nari. Gaining on her, Stryker suddenly launched himself between them and Nari. He spread his arms wide, his claws extended. The other Vrax cub tried to dodge around him, but Stryker was ready. He grabbed a piece of debris and swung it, creating a barrier. The two pursuers had to slow down to avoid crashing. "Go!" Stryker called to Nari. "I hold them." Minho and Jiwan moved to support him. They grabbed other obstacles and created more barriers. It was not fancy, but it worked. The other team got tangled up in the debris field. Nari made it back to their starting zone with the flag. "Victory. Team 1 wins," Hana announced. Simulation over. Everyone floated back to the center. Minho was breathing hard. Zero-gravity movement was exhausting. But he was smiling. "Good work," Hana said. Team 1 succeeded because they communicated and used each member's strengths. "Stryker, your defensive position was excellent." "Nari, good speed." "Minho and Jiwan, good support." She looked around at all the cadets. "This is what I want you to learn. Different species have different abilities. Success comes from working together." After class, as everyone was leaving the simulation sphere, Stryker approached the human cadets. He moved slowly, carefully. His body language showed he was not a threat. I want to say something," he said in his slow, translated speech. "We were wrong. The cubs. We were wrong. We thought humans were weak. We were told this place had many weak species. We thought we could act like we do on our homeworld." "You were told humans were weak?" Jiwan asked. "By who?" "Other cubs, before we came. They said humans were small and had no claws, no armor. They said take what we want, show strength." Stryker's plates flattened even more against his body, but then the human instructor came. "We knew then we were wrong. Our teachers warned us about humans. They said humans are the species that never stops. That follows you forever, if you anger them." Minho felt that strange mix of pride and discomfort again. "We do not want to be scary," he said. "We just want respect." "You have respect," Stryker said firmly. "Now, from all of us. We will not take food again. We will not bully." He paused, seemed to struggle with the next words. "Can we learn from you? Learn how humans work together instead of fight?" Nari looked at Minho and Jiwan. Something silent passed between them. A decision made without words. "Yes," Nari said. "We can teach you. But you have to teach us too. About your culture. About working together in different ways." Stryker's plates lifted slightly, a sign of happiness in Vrax's body language. "Yes. We teach each other." They shook hands, Stryker carefully making sure his claws did not cut anyone. It was awkward and strange, but it felt right. Over the next weeks, things changed on the station. The Vrax cubs ate at their own table, but sometimes they sat near the human cadets and talked. They learned about cooperation. They learned about asking instead of taking. They learned that respect could be earned in ways other than through fear. The human cadets learned too. They learned that strength came in many forms. They learned about their own species' reputation and how to carry it responsibly. They learned that being feared was not the same as being respected, and respect was better. One evening, a month after the cafeteria incident, Minho stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Jiwon came and stood next to him. "Do you ever think about it?" she asked. "About what Instructor Hana told us? About what we are? All the time." Minho admitted. "It is strange knowing that other species think of us as scary. We just think of ourselves as normal. We on the things on normal. See.com. Maybe that is what makes us different," Jiwon said. "We do not see our own persistence as special. We just do not give up. It is normal to us." Behind them, in the common area, Nari was teaching Stryker how to play a human card game. The Vrax cub was confused by the rules, but was trying hard to understand. His two companions watched, chittering their laughter, but not in a mean way. "Look at that," Minho said. "A month ago, I would have said that was impossible. A month ago, we did not know what we were capable of," Jiwon said. "Turns out, humans are good at more than just never giving up. We are also good at teaching. At building bridges," Minho smiled. "That is a better reputation to have." They watched the stars for a while longer. Out there was a huge galaxy full of thousands of species. Each one was different. Each one had their own strengths and weaknesses. Each one had their own fears and hopes. Humans were just one species among many. But they were a species that did not stop when things got hard. A species that worked together. A species that could be scary when needed, but chose to be kind when possible. That was worth something. That was worth carrying forward. In the cafeteria the next day, Minho noticed something new. A mixed group at one of the tables. Humans, Vracs, Thelians, and Kresh, all sitting together. They were talking and laughing, sharing food instead of stealing it. Instructor Hana sat at the instructor table like always, eating her lunch and watching the cadets. When she saw Minho looking, she gave him a small nod. Not a smile, but approval. Minho nodded back. Then he joined his friends at their table. They had saved him a seat, like always. But now there were extra seats too. And sometimes those seats were filled with other species. Cubs who were learning. Friends who were teaching. The galaxy was big and complicated. Different species did not always understand each other. But they could learn. They could work together. They could build something better than fear. One cleared throat at a time. One shared meal at a time. One friendship at a time. That was the human way. Not just persistence in hunting or fighting, but persistence in building, in teaching, in never giving up on making things better. And that, Minho thought as he started eating his lunch, was a reputation worth having.